All right, so Trump has extracted Maduro and his wife out of Venezuela. We're not going to just focus on that. We know what America's doing there. They want to get their hands on the largest oil reserves in the world, which are Venezuela, to try to stop the bleeding of the debt of the U.S. economy, which is $38 trillion in debt. The word on the street is that the U.S., through seizing Venezuelan oil barrels and ships that are supposed to be going out to Russia and things like that, and through seizing ships that Iran is sending under the guise that it's sanctioned oil, they're trying to get $3 trillion worth of oil, reserve oil, to bring their debt down. And on top of that, they're trying to weaken Brics by hurting Brics' two main pivots. To me, Venezuela and Iran are the pivots for Brics. They are what's going to actually make the global South and Brics very powerful. So they're trying to keep those countries destabilized. And by getting Maduro out there, if they can put Machado or somebody else in there, that's a huge blow to Brics because now all of those oil reserves that Venezuela has can no longer be used to prop up the money of Brics currency. And when I say prop up the money of Brics currency, it would have been in the benefit of Venezuela also. Now, the U.S. has been putting Venezuela and Iran on sanctions. Venezuela has been falling under these sanctions and their money's going down. So maybe the Venezuelans won't be complaining now that Trump has gotten Maduro out of there because they're suffering so much. But they have to ask themselves, why is your money so weak? It's because of the sanctions. And this is a war. And if you ever want freedom, you have to be able to deal with sanctions because the U.S. is going to put sanctions on you and hope that you turn on your own people. What the U.S. just did to Venezuela and to all the Venezuelans and saying that all of you are the slaves of America. Let's go back to Iran because this is all about Iran also. This is not just about what happened in Venezuela. Yesterday, Trump said that he's going to come locked and loaded into Iran if they don't stop killing their citizens. Do you see a pattern here? Oh, we care about the Iranian citizens. Oh, we care about the drugs that are coming from Venezuela into America. Oh, we care about Christians getting killed in Nigeria, so we're bombing them. So on all fronts, the U.S. is targeting nations that have oil and nations that could pivot towards, or if they haven't already pivoted, towards BRICS to keep them destabilized and basically to steal their resources through either getting rid of their leaders or in the case of like Nigeria, threatening your leader that will come in and handle a terrorist business if you don't want. And now they're saying they're going to go into Iran. No doubt, very soon they will do some bombings in Iran and say, "Oh, we bombed Iran and we showed them," and that'll just be another action of aggression towards Iran. They bombed Nigeria a couple of weeks ago, saying they're going after terrorists. They bombed Venezuela yesterday, saying we're getting out rid of a narco terrorist. So do you see the connection? And all of these bombings don't need Congress or Senate in the U.S. So what's happening here is that the U.S. is uh, trying to get energy, cheap energy, and at the same time destabilizing the BRICS movement. That's all I have to say. What are your thoughts, Kunle?
Yeah, well, as I've always said, America's only valuable asset left now is its military and its military complex. And this sudden drive to attack Venezuela, yes, it's about oil, but not in the way that you'd think. Venezuela, sorry, does have the largest oil reserves, but it's of the lowest grade quality oil possible. It's about power. It's about power in the region. It's about breaking the relationships and the trade that Venezuela and
Yeah, but
Iran were
power,
having, most
Kunle, power
fabrics with
always boils
oil.
down to resources, though.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
just
yeah.
about
That's what
power.
I'm explaining. It's not like it's when I say that. What I'm not
It's
saying
still
that.
about oil. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's about oil, but not in the way that America needs Venezuelan oil. No, what I'm saying is that in the sense of breaking the power structure because that oil reserve represents a large amount of wealth for BRICS. Now, because this has caused concern for BRICS, to my mind, I'm looking at China and Russia and waiting to see what move that they're going to play because they're going to have to play a move because this is going to be a direct spanner in the works of what they're trying to achieve with BRICS. Now, regardless of what America does, they're not going to be able to overturn this. I mean, it's ironic that they're saying, oh, they should stop killing people in protests. We've seen America brutally crush its own protests in its own countries. And as to whether there have been casualties or not in these protests in Iran is not really any of our business because the country has its own rights to its own sovereignties. We've seen France have protests with yellow vests for an entire year nonstop. All countries have protests. Having a protest is not an excuse or a prelude of any kind of validity to attacking Iran. What they've done in Venezuela is also a breach of international law. They're exercising the law of might is right this entire time. And it breaks down to there's a lot of it. A lot of other things I'm seeing a distraction from the Epstein files, control by Israel, because I don't think Trump, not that he has any care for Venezuela, but I do believe he's being told directly to do this
Yeah,
thing.
we're not. This
I
is not
don't think
about
he
Trump.
woke
This is
up
about
suddenly
America's
and knew
actions.
about
But
Venezuela and
somebody is
decided to
sanctioning
start
this.
bombing.
Americans
Yes,
are
he
sanctioning
was
this.
told. Yes, he was
And let me tell
ordered
you,
by the military
those $3
complex.
billion worth of oil that they're gonna seize from Venezuela or redirect, they're going to use it for investments for American oil companies to make, and these oil companies in America will sell that oil to Europe and will sell it in
Yes,
America too.
this attack would have happened, regardless of whether Trump or the Democrats were in
No, it's
power.
the plan. That's the
This
plan.
is a plan of the military complex of America, and it supersedes anything or any dream or hopes or plans of any president or any political leader. Which is why having a foreign lobby manage your country is like a parasite, and that's what it's doing. It's blocking him, and I think for Trump, the reason why he's happy to play the deal and play this game is because it's a distraction from the Epstein files. And those Epstein files is, I mean, I know that he's gotten away with
But can
sexual
I ask you a
things
question?
before,
Why
but I think there's
this is
something
an
really
aside,
bad.
okay? This is an aside, but why do Americans care about the Epstein files? Okay, maybe he was sleeping with some 18 or 17-year-old girls. This is not the biggest problem America's facing. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, it's not. It's distraction. It's pure distraction, and it's pure entertainment. Because that's how they're playing the game. That's how that's how the APAC is playing the game to the American people. Because come next election now, Trump isn't going to be there. APAC is going to have to figure out how they can balance out so that they still have a regular split between how the American people vote for which party. They don't want it to be too unbalanced so that when they want to control one party or other, they can get away with it. They are actually playing a game. They are. Some
So
people are
basically,
beginning to
America's
opt
attacking of
out of that
Venezuela
game.
is also masterminded in the background by Netanyahu and co. And
Yes,
Iran too, and Iran.
it's when the American people start to opt out of that game that they'll start
No, but
getting
American
scared.
people should know good and well that if your country does something illegal like that, you should protest. But the Americans don't care because they think it's not going to affect them. Do
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
they hadn't started at the start at the end of last year.
Could you
As
imagine?
far
Could
as
you
the start, they
imagine if?
hadn't.
Could you
They're still
imagine if
playing the
Russia
game.
came in and seized Trump and said we're seizing him because he's involved with the CIA, we're bringing drugs into our country? Americans would be like, "This is so unjust." Do you get my point? Even if they thought that Trump was guilty, I don't know if
Yes,
Americans.
I know international law is becoming a joke now because it's turning the world. There was a world order which has now been effectively destroyed. Because when it was put to the test, the people that put these laws together, when they now finally broke them in open view and were proven to have broken them, rather than allow themselves to face the wrath of punishment, they've decided to stand
Well,
above
Kule.
it.
So
And
here's
by
my
doing
point,
so, they
Kule. Here's my
destroyed the
point.
very order they created.
Kule, here's my point. When there was the World League of Nations and the UN, here's why I say it was bankrupt. They made a world order, but meanwhile, while they were making their world order, they were holding African countries as subject to colonialism. So it's
Exactly.
sort of
I'm
like
saying the same
okay, so
thing.
it's sort of like America saying we built a constitution so that you have the right to keep your slaves. It's a contradiction. Do you get my point? So
Yes,
so
of
you
course, it's a contradiction.
so
That's what
my
I'm
point is
saying.
that the UN was dead at its inception because colonialism was still going on amongst its people who started it. It's like starting a
Yes, but
religion based on love.
there was always a hope at the time because before then it was just every country for himself. So there was always a
No, but,
hope
but my thing is that
at
was better.
some
I
kind
would
of
prefer every country
yes.
for itself. For
Yeah,
example, I
but
would prefer every.
what I'm saying, you're never going to start off with a perfect system.
No,
So
but
I
Kule,
guess
it
the
wasn't
idea
perfect because
that
the people who set it up
ultimately
were
they'll get
the
to a
people who set
perfect
it
system.
up were the
It's
Americans and the
failed.
British. The people who set it up were the Americans and the British. So that means it was set to fail. They were creating something so that they could have justice for America and for Britain and for the white world. The white world works by justice. So they stand up for themselves. But there was always the intention that people of color and Chinese and Russians don't count. We're just making rules for ourselves. The UN
That's
was
where
never a
and
legitimate
ultimately
organization.
that's where the struggle lies.
No,
And
but
ultimately
struggle
that's where
from
the
where?
struggle is.
Kool-Aid, let me give you an example. Struggle for where? Because if An organization is started by the U.S. and Britain. That means that it's rigged. And who thinks they can? If the struggle was real, the African nations and the nations that believe in peace would have started their own thing rather than going under their colonial masters, who they know are
Well, they
treacherous.
have
Why
started
would
their
you
own
let
thing. It's called Brics. It's still very new.
Yeah, but who started it? China, not Africa. Africa has
Well,
still not stood
someone
up for
has to.
itself.
Okay, China started it, but someone had to. At least it's an
And
option.
China doesn't care about it because China is sitting down there and they're not trying to help Palestine. Let's keep it real, Kunle. That whole world organization is only works to penalize countries that aren't strong enough to say that they can do whatever they want. That's
That's
what the
why
UN is.
it's. That's why that order. That's what I say. That's why that order is breaking down because once the people who set it up start to abuse it and
But
expose
it won't break down.
themselves
You know what it'll become? It's not
to
going to break down.
free to
It's just
abuse
changing
it.
its name. It's no longer the UN. You know what it is? It's the rules based agreement, which means if you're China and Russia or America, don't fuck with us. Everybody else, justice will
It
prevail.
loses its validity. Look at what happened with Iran. Iran
Yeah,
has
but if
pulled
it
out of
loses
the
its validity,
like
it
Iran has
doesn't
pulled
matter.
out of the nuclear non-proliferation agreement
Yeah,
because
but
of
but
the
but that
fact that
that
they
also is a
abused.
lie. How can
So
you, for
so that's
example,
the general
the
trend.
U.S.
That's
is
what I'm
part
saying.
of the U.S. is breaking the nuclear non-proliferation. They've given it to Israel. So my whole thing is that the whole thing has always been a facade. So there's no way there's going to be a revolution. You can only have a revolution in a sphere in which people are open to change. There's no open to change. It's just China, U.S., and America. That's what the world is, and that's what it has been for the last 60 years. What are your thoughts?
But you have to remember that this incident has just taken place in the last few minutes. Yeah.
Kool-Aid.
So
Yeah, but here's the thing. Kool-Aid, here's the thing. No, Kool-Aid, no,
let's
no, no,
see
no, no.
whether there's going to
Kool-Aid,
be
I
a
predict what will
reaction.
happen. Nothing will be done. This is not the first time this has happened. U.S. did it to Iraq decades ago. People said it was illegal. They didn't do anything. U.S. did a no-fly zone over Libya, killed Libya's president, put in people. The U.S. has been killed Lumumba and killed him in CIA. It's the same thing. This is nothing new. It's a continuation of the same oppression without one iota of change so far. Because we've seen 600 million people, 600,000 people get killed in Palestine, and nobody's lifted a finger, Kunle. Stop dreaming about the future. There is no future. Go ahead.
Everything always changes. So what you are
Change
doing,
it towards change.
Mustafa, you're
Tell me what.
listen, it doesn't mean that suddenly overnight, in 2 seconds, the world is going to become a brighter and better place.
No,
What
it's
you
not
are
a
saying
brighter. Kool-Aid, it's
is
the
an
same.
impossible
Kool-Aid, it's the
conclusion of
same. The world has not changed. The world has not changed since the medieval period. So why should we expect it to change tomorrow? There has been no positive change.
that things. Though there has been progress.
No, there isn't. If
There
you look
has
at the
been
net
progress.
number
You
of
look
wars
at
all
from
over
the
the world, Sudan,
between
Somalia,
the turn of the
Congo,
century.
Ukraine, there's no change. It's the same rubbish over and over again. We're looking at
There's
a genocide again.
progress.
We're looking at a genocide again. We're looking at Nazism again, and nobody's doing anything about it.
Yeah, Mustafa, this has always been going on. I'm not saying that this has not been
And it
going on.
will
I'm
continue
not
going
saying
on,
that.
and it will never change.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. What you are talking about change is that in 5 seconds' time, suddenly
I'm not
everybody's
talking
going
about
to
five
come to
seconds.
the
I'm
right
talking
thing.
about
If it's
we haven't. It's not
unrealistic,
going to. I'm
it
not
changes
talking about change. There
mind.
will be no change. There will be no change because
And
human nature
that's why
is flawed.
there
There will be
has
no
been
change.
changes over time. There was a time there was slavery. There's no longer slavery. There was a
There
time
is
there was
still slavery.
apartheid.
They
There's
just
no
changed
longer
it.
apartheid.
Kool-Aid, they
There
just
was,
changed it.
there
Kool-Aid, they
is
just changed it. The black
progress. It's
community in the
simply
U.S.
not
has
as fast
regressed since
as it
slavery.
would
There is still slavery on
like.
Earth now. They've just diverted it to the Middle East and other
there,
places. And
there is
there's
still
still
slavery,
white
but
supremacy.
the concept of governments doing slavery on the black race
Kool-Aid,
has
you're a dreamer,
what
Kool-Aid. Let
I'm
me tell you
talking
something.
about.
Kool-Aid,
They
50 years ago,
have
50,
moved
60 years
forward.
ago, we had World War II.
Look at the
Millions of
changes.
Jewish people getting killed. Palestinians
Of,
are getting killed. Kool-Aid, keep dreaming. Keep
it's
dreaming.
we are what you are saying is that they have not gotten to where they need to be. The fact that
And we
we
will
haven't
never,
gotten to a
we haven't
stage
even
where
started. We haven't even
everything
started the journey. We haven't
the
even
fact that we
started.
haven't gotten to know we have started the journey. Otherwise, we'll still be slaves.
Kool-Aid, we're worse than slaves now. We're still
When we were
colonial
slaves
masters. It just
on the
changes its link.
and we are no
It's
longer
worse. Kool-Aid is
self
worse. I'd rather
and
Kool-Aid, I'd rather be a slave.
progress.
I'd rather be a
There was
slave.
a time
Kool-Aid,
when
I'd
I
rather
thought
be a Kool-Aid, I'd rather
a
be a slave
right
than to be
person.
I'd
But
rather
there's
be a slave.
some
I'd rather be
progress.
a slave in America than to go what's happening in Palestine
My
where
point is,
children
has
and
been
women,
some
Kool-Aid, as you
progress.
speak,
It has
children and
not been,
women are getting killed and nobody's saying a word.
the progress has not been to the place that it needs to be, but there has been.
There has been no progress. Humanity has reversed. We're on the verge of destroying ourselves with a nuclear weapon. We're one on the clock. We're 1 minute away, just on their metaphor, from destroying the human race. And you say things are getting better. All right, give us your last words, Kunle. Let's get out of here.
Well, it's been an interesting look into the excitement of the day as we look upon America as it breaches international law to abduct a sitting president of a sovereign nation. And we've had exchanges of fire in our observations and opinions as to what is going to happen thereafter. And from myself and Mustafa, we bid you good night, farewell, adieu. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right. See you tomorrow.